Okay, let's move on to the actual other parts of the boat now. So here we got the boom. The most obvious thing for the boom is look down it. Is it straight? You know, both up and down, but also side to side. Has it got a kink in it? Can happen where it hits the shroud and it gets bent. The other really big thing I want to look at is particularly around the kicker point. Is there any corrosion or wear? Because if there is, eventually this fitting could pull out. Okay, this is actually a very well used 2000 rudder. Very common situation. I'm looking here. It's actually being used as a depth finder when coming in and out, and it's actually being very flattened off. There's also a proper knock here. I would also really want to look and see where there's any cracking across here, where the end of the stock comes, and also just around here where the rope pull down, the pull down rope for it, if there's a crack in there. This is actually, we could actually turn this back into a pretty decent rudder without any problem, but we would expect to see with a boat this age a rudder in much better condition. Most boats are actually sold with a launching trolley and a road trailer, a combi that matches together. It is a very common situation that road trailers don't get used very often and might have actually sat in the dinghy park for a couple of years, never been used. Don't assume that the wheels are in actually good nick. How many people have I known tow a boat away and they haven't checked the tyre pressure and immediately have a blowout? Also, if they've sat in direct sunlight, it's quite often that you will get cracking in the wall of the and that is really bad news for you towing the boat away. So don't just assume that the road trailer is actually in perfect working order. I would also take the boat off the trailer, lift the wheel up, and actually run it round and listen for rumble on the bearings. If there's a lot of rumble, don't try and do very much mileage with it. Same with the launch trolley wheels. Quite often, if the boat hasn't been used, they can actually perish in direct sunlight. They're not big costs, but particularly in terms of you towing the boat away with the road trailer, you can have a whole pile of trouble if you do not check them. Okay, yeah, and a similar way to what we just were talking about with the road trailer, it's important to check the launch trolley cradle is in good order. Okay, because in actual fact, if it's broken, it can cause quite a lot of damage to the underside of the boat. And in particular here, this is the one we got, and it's actually broken across here, it's fractured and across here, and there's too much play in there. Okay, I would really recommend you get all the sails actually out, completely unroll them and have a proper look at them. This is actually a pretty average sail. We would probably only score it 5 to 6 out of 10 for competitive racing, but it's not what a disaster sail. It's actually still got plenty of life left in it. It's gone a tiny bit yellowish simply because of the sun effect on it, but that's actually okay. There are specific areas to check for on a 2000 sail. One is the actual head of the sail. Here, quite often, this bolt rope here will start pulling away from there. And that actually makes it life much more difficult to pull the sail up. It can be repaired by sail makers, no problem at all, but it's a cost. And similarly, where it goes up the luff of the mast, as it's being fed in, it gets around the button pockets, it catches badly, and to the extent that this bit here is good, it's been properly repaired. You can see the repair patch on. I would take that as actually as a complete positive. So we're also going to look at Pacific Point on 2000 sail, where it hits the batten. That's why that protection piece is here, because that's where it would actually at the bottom hit the shroud. You can very frequently get a rip here, and you can see a shroud line going along here. This is actually a good sail. It hasn't got that line, which is very good news, and it's delivered. That protection pad is good news. It's actually a good point. The one area to particularly look on is here. And this sail has actually got to start to happen. It's actually just starting to delaminate on here because this is a hard point. It's folded around there, and these sails with this material are very prone to do this delamination. So it's actually really important to look at that, because in actual fact, in about another season's time use, that's going to need repair. Okay, this is actually a replica jib, but we're actually showing this to you because it's actually a pretty well used jib. We would actually, by looking at it, you can see it's not, the fabric hasn't got particular great amount of strength left yet. The feel on it is gone a bit. We rate it only 4 out of 10 for competitive sailing, but it's got a couple of common features here. One is the entire leech back edge of the sail has been repaired. It's actually better that it's been repaired. They are very prone to actually going on the edge because it's where they hit the back of the mast. That's why you don't leave your jib off on the shore for any length of time. Roll it up as soon as you come in. That is that's what causes them to go. You can see on here there's actually a big rust mark here. That's actually caused because there's a stainless steel wire down the luff there. It's got a small nick in it, and that's what's causing the rust. It's unsightly, but that's all the problem. So the third and last sail we're going to look at is the spinnaker. And in a racing sense, this is actually one that actually is quite important because the actual fact their condition will completely dictate how useful they are for racing. This is actually quite good, especially in this one. It's clearly been used, but as I pick it off, I can see it's got a proper feel to this fabric. It's also got a proper rustle to it, which is actually really good news. And it's not, if it's been used a lot, this will be very thin. There'll be no rustle, there'll be no feel to it. And the big problem with those is when they get really wet in the spinnaker sock, they actually build up a lot of friction. So actually the poor crew has a lot of problems pulling the spinnaker up and down because it actually is sticking in the sock. Let alone the fact that when it's up, it's actually literally giving away, letting wind out, so it's actually not as being as conducive. This one's actually quite, as I said, is a really good nick. And a good look down all the tape on the edges. This is, again, because that's one of the very common places they go. This is really good. This one also has got a few little patches on where they've actually done repairs with spinnaker tape. It's a real issue with all spinnakers in lots of classes that they're very thin and they will catch a bit when they're being pulled up and down or when they're jibing on a ring that's a clevis ring that's unprotected. So actually always tape up the bottom of your jib and the top. Also, if there's any strands of wire that's just sticking out, they will catch on it. This has actually been done quite well, and I'm quite pleased like that. The other really one to really look at is this patch here. These patches, this really pull spinnaker down. And again, after quite a lot of use, these can actually start coming off. It's not a big issue for a good sail repairer to fix this, fix those. But again, you need to know that. But this is a good spinnaker. In racing sense, I would rate this 6 to 7 out of 10. I would go out in club racing and feel like I was going to be properly competitive with this sail. And it's a really important thing to look at all the sails in terms of racing, because in actual fact, finding second-hand good sails is actually really difficult. It's probably easier to find Boris's Integrity than find second-hand sails at the moment for 2000s. So if you look at a boat and the sails are actually really not great, then you need to factor in the potential. If you want to race, you might have to try and buy some new sails, which is actually quite a significant cost. So again, you've got to factor that into, is this boat a good value? And obviously the very final part that we're going to look at, which is actually obviously extremely important, and also one of the most expensive bits to replace, is the mast. This is quite an older one. I'm not at all worried that it's actually had some colour fade into the alloy. That's just one of those things that's going to happen. It doesn't affect how long the mast is going to last or its strength. What I'm particularly interested in is the mast straight, both fore and aft and side to side. So you literally just pick the mast up and look down the mast track and see that is completely straight. Brilliant. So that's actually really good news for us. And also then turn it through 90 degrees and look down that way. Be careful, there is actually a tape from above the shrouds to the top. The mast tapers very quickly. It can look, it's like that actually is a bend there. It's not. it's actually lowered down from between the shrouds all the way past the spreaders. Check there, and this again is dead straight. So that's actually really encouraging start. The other thing to quickly look at whilst you're here, and I've actually got this ready, is just check the main halyard when it's up goes over this pulley. Okay, just you're looking for any wear here, excessive wear on here, and this main halyard looks actually quite decent. It's not too big an issue to replace a main halyard. It's not the most expensive thing. You just don't want it going in your first sail. Next area to check your spinnaker halyard. Just check this sheave here is actually operating properly. This is good. That's moving nicely. So, and it's not, the box isn't distorted, so the halyard isn't going to get stuck down the side. Similarly with the jib halyard, again this box is good. The sheave is working well. I'll just have a quick look at the wire here. This is the bit that comes out the mast that you hook your halyard onto, and it can get little splits in the wire, and that's actually good there. That's actually fine. That's all good, and the forestay similarly is good. The anchor points here are good. The shroud's looking good order. So as we go, I just visually check all the way down the shrouds, and just to check that there's no kinks in them and the wire isn't splitting. Then we're actually at the spreaders. This is one area you do need to check. If there's any play or movement in this bracket, then you need to get something done. And if the rivets are actually enlarged the hole so they're not fixed, that is very bad news, to the point of I would actually get serious expert to look at it and say whether it's just a re-rivet or whether the metal's actually corroded too much around here, because that could go, and could be a walk-away situation. It's rare. It doesn't happen very often, luckily in 2000 Mast, but that's a particular area to actually check. Make sure all these rivets are in tight, there isn't movement and there isn't play there. The final area I want to check, and this is actually a not particularly well rigged mast, and it's not been used for quite a long time. The ropes are actually green, so in actual fact quite a few of these ropes I would want to be replacing. It's not an expensive thing and it's a very simple thing to do, but it's one of those things you might want to reflect in the price. But the important thing to check is all these fittings here, which is the jib tension system, and again they actually take quite a lot of load. So if the rivets aren't on properly, and that's your kicking strap anchorage. And again, if these rivets aren't in good, well fixed, and you can see corrosion around these fittings, I would actually I would actually like to actually get somebody who really knows what they're talking about to actually have a quick look at it, to actually judge whether they can be just re-riveted or whether it's actually quite significant. Now, some of these fittings, yes, you can actually, aren't too bad. You can actually re-rivet them, not a problem. It's just if there is corrosion and the holes are actually getting too big, then we have an issue. But we're talking pretty unusual circumstances here. Masts are actually very rugged and very good. The snag is when you have to replace them, it is a lot of money. We're talking £900 for a brand new mast. Okay, so that's our fairly whistle-stop tour of actually how to look at a 2000 and things to look out for. I hope that's actually been of use to you. Can I just re-emphasise a couple of some points here to you? One is 2000s, really good, well-built boats, very rugged. You're safe buying an old boat if it's been looked after, and they last, and they do their job in their niche extremely well. The other one I mentioned earlier on is the 2000 Class Association. Brilliant organisation. When you buy a 2000, please support them by joining the association. I would almost say it's your moral integrity to do such a thing. But if you need any guidance or help, their website is extremely useful, and they've got a very good forum on Facebook. So when you buy a boat and you need some help, they're very willing to help you. If you've got any particular concerns about a boat when you've bought it and you need some help about whether this needs fixing, please get in touch with us. We'll always be willing to help you. Send me some photographs and I can actually give you some guidance. We've talked a lot all the way through about some of the problems. Don't let it be put off buying a boat. Most of the boats, second-hand boats like they're old boats, do not have these issues. It's just what to look out for. And it's a bit of a question is is the boat of value for money? Okay, so you're looking at how old it is, what's complete in the package, what condition the sail's in. If there are problems with the hull that need fixing, does the price reflect it, or do we actually have a discussion with the owner about getting them fixed before you buy the boat? For those that actually would need feel like need a bit of help, we do offer a complete brokerage service, two ways. One, to actually help you sell your boat and actually work out what probably the best value, what the true value of your boat actually is, and also any work that should be done to actually make the boat both a better value and more sellable. We offer a brokerage service there, but we also offer a brokerage service the other way, where you're looking to buy a boat, you're struggling to find a boat, and you're a bit unaware, a bit suspecting of what to look for yourself, what it makes a good value. We will quite happily do that, and we will check the boat over for you, so you've got some peace of mind. So if you would like to follow that up, just give us a ring or an email. The details are on a YouTube channel. Will come up at the end of this video, and we will do our best to help you get either the right boat for you or help you sell your boat. I said I hope that's actually helped you. Pete Vincent West Country Boat Repairs. We sponsor the Millennium Series for the 2000s. Very happy to give you any guidance or help. We'll also be delighted to actually give you a quote for doing any work that you think you need on your boats. Enjoy your sailing. Hope to see you on the water in the 2000 one day.